stream. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the finance meeting of February 6, 2023. I want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, including our near neighbors, the Lishiana First Nation and the Sauk First Nation. Councillor Shukin is on a conference call with us tonight. He is in Alberta. So starting with the agenda committee, are there any additions to the agenda? Marianne?
So we've got a number of pink items, mostly related to the staff report. The CRD Arts Commission probably should label them as B, C, D, E, and F, starting with April Hudson and ending with Ian Rye. Those should be added to the agenda in terms of correspondence.
Thank you. Any other changes or additions or amendments? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Mayor Little, seconder. Councillor F. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And presentations. So this evening we have Chris Gilpin, Manager of CRD Arts and Cultural Division, and Marianne Alto, Chair of the CRD Arts Commission, giving us a PowerPoint presentation.
Please start.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
You've been given instructions on how to manage the equipment?
I believe so.
Okay.
Thank you very much for welcoming us here to Metchosin. It's always such a pleasure to visit you, and thank you for being so welcoming to all of us urban types. Let me say how much I appreciate that as we densify, you don't. So please continue that trend. Today I'm here not as the Mayor of Victoria, but as the Chair of the Arts Commission, and all we really wanted to do tonight was bring you up to date on some of the information about the Arts Commission. We understand it's a matter you're considering later tonight, and Chris is going to give you some facts and figures, and then I'm just going to make a few closing comments, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. So I'll turn it over to Chris, and I'll come back in a minute.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair, for having us. We really value the opportunity just to provide a little bit more information about the Arts and Culture Support Service. We have a little presentation for you. I'm going to quickly run through these slides, and then we should have the opportunity for some questions if there are any. And I apologize already for the fonts in the slide. They're not displaying very well, so we'll try to figure out these as we go along. Here we have a map of all the participating areas of the Arts and Culture Support Service. It is a sub-regional service. So 9 out of the 16 jurisdictions in the CRD participate. As you can see, Sault participates, Metchosin participates, Highlands, View Royal, Saanich, Oak Bay, Victoria, Esquimalt, and the Southern Gulf Islands. The Mayor of Langford, Mayor Goodmanson, has indicated that he would like Langford to join the Arts and Culture Support Service. So it started in 2001, and just to highlight here that Metchosin was a founding member. So Metchosin has been in the service since 2001. There has been increase in the budget throughout the years, but always at a very reasonable level, never more than 2 to 4%. So the structure of how this works, how does this service delivered? There is an Arts Commission that is elected officials, one from each of the participating jurisdictions. So there are 9 members on the Arts Commission who are elected officials. There is an Arts Advisory Council. Those are volunteer members from the community who do the adjudication of all of the arts grants. And they provide recommendations about which applications should be funded, and they give those recommendations to the Arts Commission. And then their staff, there's 2.8 of us, and I'm one of them. Okay, sorry about the fonts here, but there are 5 grant programs. There's operating grants that provide stable funding for long-term planning. Project grants, one-time projects, series, or extended programming. Equity grants to support programs by communities facing barriers. Incubator grants, that's really to get new organizations up and running. And idea grants, which we've had a lot of interest in, which is to fund arts activities that are put on by non-arts organizations. So we've funded things like Brain Injury Society, all kinds of different nonprofits who want to do arts projects. So this is just, again, sorry for the overlap on the fonts here, but to give you an idea, there's just an incredible variety of projects that are funded every single year. In 2021, there were 83 organizations funded, $2.5 million of grants distributed. In 2022, we actually had 95 grants distributed, so it went up from 83 to 95 last year. And the amount was $2.6 million last year. It employs a lot of arts workers, over 3,600 arts workers all throughout the CRD, many paid artists and full-time staff. Over 4,000 events were actually supported, and over 1.7 million participants if you add up all of those events. Let's focus in on Metchosin specifically. So since, as I said, Metchosin was a founding member, over these 20 years, there have been 31 grants to Metchosin arts organizations. There's a few photos here just as examples. So we have MACA, that's the Metchosin Arts and Culture Center. That has a legacy of project photo up there, which was an incredible intergenerational arts project between students and seniors. And then in the other corner there, we have William Head on Stage, one of their many productions that has been funded through this service. Just to look at last year, there were 2 grants to Metchosin organizations, a total of $16,000 and some odd dollars went out, and the Metchosin contribution into the service was just under $15,000. So just to highlight the key benefits, what this means when you're participating in this service is that nonprofit organizations located in Metchosin can apply for grants to do arts activities. Metchosin residents benefit from arts activities across the region, of course, and contributions amplify the entire sector across the region. Another thing, though, that I think is really important, and I hope I can make this point because it's a little bit more complicated, but I see it all the time, is that we get project grant applications from organizations not in Metchosin who want to do regional tours, and they want to bring activities across the region. They'll do a show in Saanich, a show in Souk, and a show in Metchosin. I've seen many others. And for instance, when I get those project grants right now and it says Colwood or Langford, I have to say we can't support that because those aren't participating jurisdictions. So this is also how Metchosin benefits, is when other organizations outside of Metchosin bring arts events across the region. This is just a quick look at the dollars and cents. So if you look at Metchosin's the second last line there, there are 2 groups in this service. Basically, Group 1 pays the full rate. The cost sharing formula is 50% population, 50% assessment. And those top group decided they wanted to pay the full rate, so they paid the full rate. And then what happened is in 2018, we created a discounted rate, so only 30% of the full rate is paid by the Group 2 participants, but Group 2 participants still receive all of the same benefits as Group 1 participants. But it's at a much lower rate. So you can see Metchosin, that's the 2023 estimates, just over $15,000. It ends up being about 0.5% of the budget. And thank you. I'm going to turn it back to our chair for some concluding remarks.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you again for allowing us to come and speak with you today. We're happy to take questions. I just want to speak to one brief thing, and that's the legacy of Metchosin in arts and culture. I had the privilege many years ago attending Pearson College. And even at that point, Metchosin was always front and center in creating opportunities for local artists to be able to produce their wares and to be able to showcase them and really take that leadership role in arts and culture on a local level. And certainly the CRD has benefited from that commitment from Metchosin over the years and certainly values it tremendously. And without placing too much of a burden on you, there is a huge valuation and appreciation for the contributions of Metchosin at the Arts Commission and in the participation of what you do in providing those opportunities for local artists. I think that legacy really has to be an important thing for you to consider. I know very well, going in my community, the same challenges that you're having with your budgets. It's never easy, and every dollar is really important, and I understand how you're looking for every savings capacity. But I think Chris has shown you that the investment that you put in is not just a net advantage to you on money, but I would argue that the leadership that you have the opportunity to show and really the value and quality of how you can promote arts and culture across the region and showcase Metchosin producers as well, Metchosin artists as well, is really quite invaluable. So I hope that you'll consider what is essentially our request that you stay with us and that somehow can work its way into your budget for the future. So thank you for your time, and we're happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Committee, do you have any questions for these representatives of CRD Arts. Councillor Gray.
No question, just a big thank you. Thanks for coming out this evening.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And
same
for
here.
all the
Thanks
work.
very much for coming out.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
And any comments from the community before they leave?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much for coming, I appreciate that.
Good luck.
I apologize for the fonts, that actually is our, I believe, we've had a problem before with our old laptop, which probably should put into our budget.
Feel free to share that with any of your public. That's all
Thank
public
you.
information, so if anyone asks, you're welcome to have anyone look at it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thanks so much.
Okay, so we'll move on to public participation. Is there anyone from the community that would like to speak? Please come up to the mic, state your name and the street in which you live, please.
Barrett Fullerton, 384 Chapel Heights Drive. I received an email earlier from Abby Omatoso informing me of the decision that was going to be made tonight. I requested more information, and I got another email from Ian with the staff report included, which I read shortly before the meeting this evening. So my brain is a little scrambled, as my thoughts may be as well, and I put things together quite rapidly. When reading the staff report, I was a little bit confused. In the background and the discussion, it appeared to be in support of the CRD Arts and Grants program, although you're looking into the withdrawal from participation. The report, two organizations have received more in grants than we have contributed to the program. I would suggest that other Metchosin nonprofit groups could also benefit from grants should we continue to contribute. As stated in the section discussion, that from a regional perspective, residents move between municipalities to attend other events. I personally attend all of the Pacific Opera presentations, most of the Victoria Symphony, as do many other Metchosinites and many other activities as well. I'm a patron of both of those organizations too. Should we withdraw, nonprofit organizations in Metchosin would no longer be eligible to receive grants. And I feel that we should support the art groups in other Victoria area municipalities that so many Metchosinites attend. I would hope that this council would continue to participate in the CRD Arts and Grants program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fullerton. Anyone else?
Valerie Lambert. I live on Circle Drive, 3949. Mayor and council, fellow Metchosinites, honored guests, online viewers. First, may I commend the mayor and council for their due diligence in inquiring about outgoing monies. This perhaps bodes well for Metchosin's fiscal responsibility going forward. My comments tonight address council's motion to investigate the participation in the CRD Arts and Culture Service. Much can be said, but I will limit my comments to a few important points. Money spent developing community arts remains in the community where it employs local people and stimulates local economies. This pattern is unlike the case for large and expensive internationally based productions that leave town with your dollars. Local productions not only provide jobs for the artists, but there are a multitude of trades like electricians, carpenters, stagehands, lighting and sound engineers, graphic artists that are gainfully employed in arts productions. CRD Arts and Cultural Service helps out venues like theaters, galleries, and libraries. Metchosin should not leave the CRD Arts and Cultural Service. Arts groups, especially performing arts groups, are just getting back on their feet after the brutal effects of the health restrictions on their livelihoods. Furthermore, Metchosin is well known for its diverse arts community. In fact, visual arts is one of Metchosen's primary industries. You cannot dismiss it with a stroke of a computer key. Relationship is important. One must think beyond the borders of this district. Metchosen's relationship with the Greater Victoria community will be jeopardized if Metchosen leaves the Arts and Culture Service. Why, you say, would this happen? Because all the other regions will be receiving less from the province for their initiatives if Metchosen withdraws support. I know you are a new council, and new politicians are determined to make their mark. It's well known that new councils and new school boards are quick to cut the music and arts programs when faced with their first financial dilemma, only later to regret their decision. Much is lost in the interim. Don't make that first big mistake. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hi there, I'm Joel Roper, 661 Pears Road. I just wanted to take a moment to publicly support the variance request for 4080 Debris Road. They're wonderful neighbors, and I just don't want to see anything change. We've got a good community vibe going on, so thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kate Rubin, and I'm thankful to be here. Thank you to Mayor and Council for this. I'm just adding to what people have said. I don't live in Metchosen, but one of my colleagues, Jenny Luther, does, and she lives on Happy Valley Road. Myself and Anne Cirilla are here just from the outer community. We are theatre artists who have been working for the past 17 years with William Head on Stage, and have been very involved in the productions out there over the years, and also in the facilitation of basically workshops and ways in which to give the men support through the use of theatre skills. So as an artist, I have seen the benefits of the CRD funding for William Head on Stage. It's been a huge support for them to be able to maintain what they do out there. And many of you probably know in the audience that William Head on Stage is 41 years now going, and it's quite an important aspect of Metchosen and also the Greater Victoria area, and now also across Canada. It's considered to be one of the most unique prison theatre experiences in Canada and in actually the US. So I just want to support the idea, or support the fact that we do not agree with Metchosen, if at all possible, to step away from this kind of support, because not only does Metchosen itself benefit with the artists coming, and also the men themselves coming out with much better, I would say, skill sets and values and life skills that help them transition out into the community. So without any further ado, thank you for listening, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anything else? Yes, go ahead.
Karen Hoffman, 1530 Meald Road. I had not intended on speaking to this issue, but I fully support Metchosen continuing their support for the CRD Arts Council, and at $9 per household, I don't really think that's an onerous ask of the citizens of Metchosen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stacy. We're 4096 Dupree Drive. I too would like to voice my support for the variance application at 4080 Dupree. As a nearby neighbor, I see no problem with the proposed amendments and would like to support this family in seeing their project through to fruition. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak?
Thank you. I'm sorry I was late. I'm speaking to the variance permit application. I just wanted to clarify, in the report it says that the application went to the Development Variance Board and was rejected, which is correct. But I just wanted to clarify the basis of that. The variance board is very keen to make sure that it stays within its mandate, which is only for minor variances, and consideration of major variances are entirely council's business. And when we had a look at the bylaw on secondary suites, it seemed clear that the intent of the bylaw was either for entirely separate dwelling units, self-contained, or to be part of the house, and this was neither, and therefore we thought this constituted therefore a major variance, and at that point our consideration stopped. So we did not put our minds at all to whether the difficulty or the hardship imposed warranted a major variance. That's entirely your consideration. We didn't put our mind to that at all, and that was not the basis of our decision. It was entirely on not trespassing on your jurisdiction.
Thank you very much. Are there any other participants for the public participation of the finance meeting? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next part of the agenda. The adoption of the minutes. Page 3, Finance Committee meeting, January 9th. Councillor Gray?
I can move adoption. I just have one amendment to suggest.
And that would be?
Just in the first line of under public participation, it reads, Gary Smurfett, resident, commented on the draft 2023-2027 5-year financial plan, noting that the documentation was incomplete. And I think it might better read, noting that he considered the documentation was incomplete.
And any comments on this? No.
I would second adoption.
Second, thank you. Okay, so we have a move and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And to page 7, Special Finance Committee budget meeting, January 23rd.
I approve adoption.
Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Epp. Discussion? Yes, Councillor Gray.
I just wondered if it might be appropriate to make an amendment on under road safety crossing guard, requested amount $10,000. The statement there, the second bullet says funding of $10,000 for crossing guard is a minimal in terms of liability, ensuring the crossing is safe as motorists will see a crossing guard. And I might add the words, is safe as possible. We were debating what the measure of safety was on that particular point.
Mayor Lou?
Just in terms of a point of order here, so what these agenda minutes are as recorded, not what the interpretation of what they should be. So let's stick to what was recorded by the recorder without interjecting our own personal opinion regarding that.
Any other comments, committee? Councillor Gray?
Yeah, no, not so much my personal opinion, but keeping the minutes accurate. I'm happy to accept it as you wish.
Through the chair, I think they're accurate as they are.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Councillor Shukin?
I'm in favor, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so on to reports, page 15. Oh, this is me. Councillor's update. So council has been meeting and staff to do the 2023 budget discussions. They're underway. We had our I believe it was our third meeting just previously to this one, starting at 4:30 this afternoon. Public engagement is key. We really do want to hear what you have to say, whether that's by email, phone, or participating in the meetings. It's these are your tax dollars that we're deliberating on, and I know that there's a lot of concerns with, our assessments are going up, projected assessments of 11%. We're already talking 11.7% with the budget. That's a starting point. That's not to say that's where we're going to stay. That's why we're having these meetings, to do deliberations, to figure out our wants and our needs of our community and whether or not we keep with the same services. So we do want to hear what you have to say. Everything's going up all over the place. We've seen that coming out of COVID. It's a little bit frightening sometimes, but clearly it's quite emotional too. So please do speak up, let us know. It's really important to us. Some of the big topics that we're facing, of course, this year is policing costs. Those are ongoing negotiations. I don't know when those will be finalized, but I'm hopeful that it'll be soon. We also, it's not in our budget just yet, but we will be looking into the future, not too far, I don't think, of a fire hall replacement, possibly 2024 to 2026. But there's a steering committee for that, and so there's conversations happening there as well. A lot of research still needs to be done, and it's a dynamic group that is delving into lots of different facets of information to bring back to council. School site is, we've had a presentation about what's happening with the school in just recent meetings. We now need to have a plan for it to be more fiscally sustainable. So the community involvement will be helpful there as well. Roads, we have a paving schedule of $1 million a year, so this is something that we're going to have to look really hard and fast at, and whether or not we need to reassess that perhaps and see what is needed and what isn't. And there's a couple different ways we can do that. My role on the West Shore Parks and Recreation Board, I'm newly appointed to this board. There are 5 owners, and there are an incredible incredible team that we work with as staff there, of about the same amount of people. Recently, the council had a tour of the facility. It's 108 acres. It's a multifaceted recreational facility. A very dynamic team of staff throughout. When COVID hit, they laid off a lot of their staff, but they kept the ones that they could by making them more diverse and doing cross training, so where they had fewer hours they were able to work in different departments and that, so that was great. And as they're onboarding and opening up some of the services, they have a major waiting list right now for pool and different activities, so they're starting to train their own staff for their swim lessons, and they have lifeguarding program that they're actually training for. And then those staff, they have an agreement where they pay a certain amount of their fees for these courses, and then the staff stay on staff as opposed to being recruited and then leaving. So it's a good investment. The facility consists of a swimming pool, weight room, indoor sports complex, 2 skating rinks, 2 preschools. There's daycare there as well. There's multi-purpose rooms, lawn, bowling, velodrome, BMX track, jogging trail, number of different fields for soccer, rugby, baseball, that sort of thing. Wild play, right now there's a skateboard park that is being constructed, so I encourage you to go down and watch behind it. It's all gated, but you can watch the process of that. It's moving along very, very fast. They also have a couple of tenants at the Grizzlies team that is a tenant in the Q Center, and the Shamrocks lacrosse team also that provide a service to our community with those 2 different sports. I was newly appointed to the Greater Victoria Public Library Board. I'm just learning about them. I've had 1 online meeting, so the onboarding of orientation has just started in January. And I will be on their finance committee as well. They have 2 subcommittees. One is planning and the other is finance. They have a lot of projects that they're going to be doing in the next 5 years. One of the biggest ones is the replacement of the Central Branch Library. There's some really interesting information if you go to any of their websites of the services that they do provide. As much as they might have been closed through COVID, there still were services available online. I haven't used the library as much, guiltily, in recent years since my kids are much older, but we always did a swim lesson and went over to the library every Friday. And there's so many wonderful programs that they have there. So our tax dollars do pay for that, and it's an amazing resource to have in our community. So I would encourage people to look into, if you're not already, to look into some of the services that these facilities offer Metchosin residents.
Councillor Donaldson?
Yes.
Yeah, if I could comment, thanks for providing these updates. So this really provides us context. I don't think we've, in the last 4 years anyways, we didn't hear a lot about the West Shore Parks and Recreation. This is really great because you didn't say it, but these are 2 of our big budget items is in terms of our service fees for the Greater Victoria Public Library and also for the West Shore Parks and Recreation. So you may have stayed off a lot of public input regarding pulling out of those organizations as well. So thank you for that.
And on that, I'd just like to say, because I know that this is something that's been sort of brewing, is we pay for the West Shore Parks and Rec. We pay for just a little over 4% per household. The Greater Victoria Public Library, they base their fees on our assessments. And so, as I said, our assessment has gone up in Metchosin to 11%. And so when I went through my literature today, and I think this is the most correct I can get, it's 11.8%. But there's a wealth of information, like I say, at the library. There's all sorts of, there's reading clubs, there's interest in engaging in anything to do with literature, world languages, CDs and DVDs that you can borrow and that sort of thing. So it's a really fun place to get some information for all ages, even ancestry. So a lot of historical stuff. So please do check them out. You do pay for that. Okay, so that's the councillor's update. So turning to page 17. For the staff report regarding the CRD Arts contribution. And so we have 2 options from staff. Yes?
Yeah, just go ahead. I'm just going to make a motion.
Okay, so we have 2 options from staff. The first option is that the Finance Committee recommend to Council to direct staff to begin the withdrawal process of the CRD Arts and Grants Program for 2024, or that Finance Committee receives the report for information.
I'm going to move option 2, that the Finance Committee receive the report for information.
Second.
I would second that motion. And wish to speak to it very briefly.
Okay, so Councillor Epp has made a motion, and Councillor Shukin is seconding it with a comment to come. Go ahead, Councillor Shukin.
Okay, I just want to pass on to staff. Thanks for putting this information together. Very informative in terms of looking at the amount of money we contribute to the arts grant, and also some of the mechanics and the background of the arts grant. I do not support withdrawing. I believe that such a move is, it's just such a provincial, we're insular-looking step, and we are all members of the CRD, and we all benefit from what goes on within the CRD communities. And I just think it would send the wrong message. And I think it would be very wrong based on the spirit of this community in terms of withdrawing funds from an arts organization or an organization that supports arts organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shukin. I can completely agree with you. And it's very enriching to have the variety of arts that the CRD Arts Board does offer to the region. And so any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. On Saturday night, I went to watch a film, Bones of Crows, and it was really quite amazing, very intense. But at the beginning of it, there was, this lists and lists of all these different organizations that got together to manage to produce this quite incredible film. And now they've been touring it around the province, and it was free to go and watch. And I just, it kind of reminded me of how the collaboration, and in our case of the communities, to support the arts is just so important. As everybody's mentioned, we all, it's not just about Metchosin. I mean, I'm sure all of us, go to plays once in a while, or the symphony, or watch a pop-up, theater presentation somewhere, and there's certainly people in the community involved. And I just think it's an extremely important thing to keep supporting the arts in our community and elsewhere.
Thank you. Marianne?
Yeah, I concur with everything that's been said. I think it would be short-sighted of us to withdraw from the CRD Arts, just to give some context, and kudos to the staff for bringing this forward. If we were to consider it, which I don't hear any of that yet, if we were to consider, we would need to give, there's a 6-month time point. And so they were doing their due diligence to bring this forward, to match the timelines for that for 2024. If we missed it, it'd be 2025. So they were doing their due diligence in bringing this forward. And one of the things I always say when people ask me why am I such a big supporter of the arts, and I was at the Greater Victoria Youth Orchestra yesterday. They are also supported by the CRD, fabulous program. What I always say is that we're 99% identical as a human species, but what defines us is the arts and culture. And that's what defines us as a region and as Metchosin. So I'm highly in favor of the arts community, both in Metchosin and regionally.
Thank you. Councillor Gray?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Barrett and Kate, Valerie, and Karen who spoke tonight, and those who sent us letters on this issue. I said I'm an alternate director at the CRD, and have just gone through all the orientations that they provide. And this was one of the big presentations for me, was the arts, how the arts are funded through the CRD and the work that's done there. The issues for me relate to, we're just a small part of a big operation for the greater good. And that's important to me that we contribute. We have a very small involvement, but we get a big payback in terms of our ability to enjoy the arts in the city. And then the third thing I wanted to mention was that we've taken on this idea that we're going to maintain a green space here in Metchosin for the benefit of the CRD overall. In other words, our regional role is to be a green space. We talked earlier in other meetings about the carbon sink and just the benefits that we have. And we welcome people from the CRD to come out here to enjoy the green. In order to maintain that regional growth strategy that stops at our borders, to maintain the urban containment boundary that stops at our borders, means that we need to support things that are going on in the urban center, whether it be housing for density, whether it be the arts for the benefits for people there, but also the benefits for us. You can't afford the kind of arts that we enjoy in the big city without contribution of all of us citizens that are in the area. And just a special shout out to the William Head art program. Did you say 40? My golly, more than 4 decades of work going on there, and what a wonderful contribution that's been. This came up to us in council through MACA, the presentation they made a week or 2 ago, asking for a switch up in the grants, and it seems to be not a very good idea, and I'm of course going to vote in support of the motion.
So with that being said, I'd like to call the question. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
None opposed.
Could you repeat the motion that we've, just for the public to understand? Or I can, that the Finance Committee received the report for information only. Okay, thank you.
So on page 23 of your agenda, we have some correspondence from the Central Saanich Food Hub's feasibility study. This report is a really good document for our area of varied farmers that we have in Metchosin. Our Agricultural Advisory Select Committee has been having meetings in the last couple of years to look at how we can broaden our horizons, and we have a varied amount of different kinds of farmers and stuff here. So one of the things that they're looking at is having an agricultural plan, and it does enable us to be able then to apply for grants and such. Something we're also talking about at the budget table as well, because there's a cost to putting these sorts of things together. This document actually will give us some ideas of them that we could put into that plan. So I will be, because the Agricultural Advisory Committee is also in my portfolio, I will be sharing it with them. Just briefly on what the feasibility study for Central Saanich was, they're looking at a community processing area for like a community kitchen and a place to produce food. It's not just growing. So food processing and community kitchens, they only have actually 2 community kitchens in their community. I think we have like 7. They're not really community kitchens, but we have quite a few kitchens here that we could open up to the public, I suppose. Anyways, some other things that were interesting that we could use as takeaway is they have an online ordering platform. A couple of our farmers do that. There is an interest, or there has been in the past, to do a food cooperative here, whether that is in a retail space or we could do it in conjunction with an online platform. They have worked with retail outlets. What they're finding now is the grocery stores aren't supporting local food. One of the big companies, which is Thrifties, was bought out by Sobeys. So they bring a lot of their foods in. It's a Quebec company, so they bring foods in from elsewhere. They're not supporting the local food movement as much as they used to. Other things that would be interesting in the document for Metchosin would be the marketing and the distribution, ideas of equipment rental, or we've had residents suggest having an equipment library where you could borrow equipment. Instead of everybody having a rototiller, you could probably borrow one. Health and safety in the food production is always a concern, not just in restaurants, but certainly on farms as well. They are having an issue with abattoirs in Central Saanich, and I was really disappointed that they didn't actually acknowledge that Metchosin has an abattoir. They weren't mentioned at all, so we'll have to let them know. But the one thing they did note was that there isn't an abattoir for poultry, and we do know that from our farmers in this part of the CRD, that we have to go further and further afield to take our animals to a facility for processing. Alternatively, mobile abattoirs is something that is not new to some of us farmers. This is something that in my family we raise sheep and pigs, and it was probably about 20 years ago we talked about abattoirs, and or not abattoirs, mobile abattoirs. The feasibility of that, I don't know how it would work. At the time, it sounded like a good idea, but there were a lot of regulations with the government changing with processing plants like abattoirs. And so a lot of two businesses we dealt with, which were like mom and pop operations. You could take your animals in, they would do the processing. It was a one-stop shop. We didn't have to travel from one place to another, which is really hard on the animals, and it's not good for the environment. They went out of business because the government asked them to. The regulations just changed so often, it just wasn't cost effective to keep a small business. So we're very fortunate now that Metchosin, our lamb and pork, can actually stay here and be processed. They grow a happy life with us when they are with us, outdoors, not in a factory, and that's just our family. So and it's all government inspected, grade A. So. So the Metchosin Agriculture Committee, I'm hoping that this will be an asset for them. Other things that the things that we do or ambitions we have is to promote the Metchosin grown. Some of our members are involved with the local farmers market, which is there's a wait list for getting them to the market. Yeah, so there's some really good ideas in this, and it was quite a bit of reading to go through, but it'd be an asset for us to have this. So I would like to just ask for a motion to receive this document and for it to be put onto the agenda of the next Agriculture Advisory Select Committee, which should be within the next month.
I'll move that motion to send this to the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee for their review and to receive this for information.
Thank you. Moved by Mayor Little and seconded by Councillor Gray. Any further discussion? Yes.
Maybe just we could ask the Agriculture Committee to help us with answering the questions asked by the writer of the letter, Britt Burnham, Manager of Community Engagement District of Saanich.
Okay. Mayor Little?
Yeah, I like their idea. I think it's visionary for Central Saanich. We're not quite there in Metchosin. We don't have the capital to have a food hub here. It's a great idea for the future, but I think it's a learning opportunity for the councillor that has the agriculture in their portfolio to get to know what they're doing in terms of their food hub, how they're financing it, and so I would suggest that the councillors reach out and talk to, I think it's Zeb King, Councillor Zeb King. If not, you can reach out to Mayor Ryan Windsor and ask for those contacts. It's a great idea.
Thank you, I'll do that. Okay. So moved and second, all in favor?
I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we don't have any bylaws or other business, so I'd ask for an adjournment to the Finance Committee.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.